Very good. Thank you very much. Fiscal year 2022 budget discussion meeting. This meeting of the Ways and Means Committee via WebEx conferencing Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. Meeting's called to order at 5:36. This meeting is being recorded and videotaped by the Ways and Means Committee and GCTV 15. If any other person is doing so at this time, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Anybody recording? Okay, hearing none. John, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Chairperson Forgy. Councillor Jarvis.
Here.
Councillor DeSorger.
Here.
Councillor Mayo.
Here.
And I'm Councillor Bottomley, present.
Very good. We have a forum. Just so people know that Chairperson 4G is having technical difficulties. She will be joining us as soon as possible. So we have no approval of minutes, no public hearings, and no motions on the board. So we're going to be doing a budget discussion. So please have all your budget information available to you. Oh, is that Chris trying to speak? Okay. So budget discussions, we're going to do the small departments. And I see that we have the assessor up first. I believe first on the agenda would be the assessor's office. So.
And I am here. I'm having technical difficulties getting my name attached to my face, but okay, I am here.
So you can take it over from there if you'd like to.
Okay. Okay. So I basically have my budget, keeping in mind that we're trying to keep things as tight as possible, but also understanding that we do have a little bit more on our workload this year. We are in revaluation year, so this is generally a year where you see the assessor's budget pretty high. So what I did to try to be reasonable with the budget, but also be appropriate for the scope of work, is to increase the assistance hours, the administrative clerk, from 25 to 30 hours. I think although you hear 5 hours doesn't seem like a lot, it's a significant amount of work that's going to be able to be completed in that time frame. So that should help us. And then also, the other increase that I made was for RRG, and that was suggested. It was a option for extension on our contract, and so I put that in there. That is for $107,500, and that's going to help us with reval this year. That's going to include all of our inspections, just like last year. Anything else extra that the state is requiring of us this year, any legal that would come with the revaluation. It also, again, covers the ATV cases, which we generally have to have legal assistance for. Most cities and towns, I would say 99% of cities and towns, have an attorney go with them to any of their ATV cases. So by having RRG, that takes away the legal fees for us. You will see the Board of Assessors as of right now. I've kept that the same. I understand there might be some changes, but for now we have still 2 members that are getting paid. So that stayed exactly the same at $5,400. There is no longevity software. I was able to take out the legal line. So that was $1,000 that was removed from my budget because we don't need it with RRG because they're able to cover that. The recording is, you will see, I did increase that a little bit. And that's because there's been more sales, which means more deeds, so more pieces of paper coming through. In the past, we've been a tiny bit under on that one, but with the increased amount of sales that there's been over the past couple of years, I just thought that adding a little bit extra to that was probably appropriate so that we don't get negative. School, I left exactly the same because we have well, there's a couple of things happening. I had one class that I needed to, which ended up being offered this fiscal year. So that has been covered. However, we are potentially going to be having a new board member depending on the election and who runs and so on and so forth. So they will need to take a course. And also we have the administrative clerk who has not yet had a chance to take any courses, which it's not required for the position. But of course, the extra schooling is always a nice thing. Makes everything run smoother. The more knowledge, the better. So that's where my $1,500 came from there. And I think the only other place that went up was advertising. And that was because the cost of ads in the newspaper has increased. So not really much I can do there. I was also able to decrease the mileage reimbursement because many things, I shouldn't say everything, but many things are being offered online now. We really don't need as much as we had in the past. In the past, I think I was even going over $200 with all the amount that I was traveling to take all my courses. But now that everything is offered via Zoom, we certainly don't need that much money. There are still some seminars and things that happen within Franklin County that may or may not need to use the cost. But that I believe. Oh, and I'm sorry. The last thing I did increase was our dues, and unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. The MAAO has increased our dues, and we do now have IAAO that we are involved with, and that is International Assessors Association. So that is laws, rules, and regulations that are followed across, actually across the world. And then there's specifically the MAAO, which is Massachusetts Assessors Association, and that's much more specific to us. So that's basically where my increases and decreases have come from, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Counselors, we'll do the same format that we have been doing. Doug, I see you have your hand up.
I do. I just have a question about a question that was brought up last week. It was that there was seems to be some discrepancy between assessing and some houses were assessed at a lot more than they should have been, or less than they should have been, and there was a lot of questions came up as a result of that. And I was wondering if you can shed some light on that.
Sure. So there's a lot that goes into this. This week, I'll be honest, I've been sick to my stomach all week, not able to sleep because of the comments and the situation. I don't want people to think that. I want people to know what I do. And so I have so much to say, but I'll try to keep it short. When I was listening to some of those comments, the values that were being used were not all in the same fiscal year. So one property may have been used, the value was from fiscal year 20. And then the next property that was being compared to, the value was 2021. So of course there's an increase. There's, the sales, the market is hot right now. And so everyone is, the values are increasing. What I can also say is that the assessor's office across the state of Massachusetts, I can't speak exactly for other states because I don't know exactly how their laws work, but across the state of Massachusetts, we have the state over our shoulder all the time. We are in contact with the state for help, for many reasons, but not only that, we have laws and rules and regulations that if we don't follow, they don't set our tax rate. They don't set our values. We don't get our tax bills out on time. They don't care. They want us to do what we need to be doing to be fair and equitable. So I think that some of the comments that were made, maybe people just didn't realize that. And I don't expect people to know everything I do, because this is
Right.
really a specialty job. Before I worked in the assessor's office, I didn't know all the things that this job entailed.
Yeah,
So
if I may just say, I don't mean to cut you off, but we need to and I do respect your position, but we need to concentrate on the budget. So if the questions could be in regards to the budget, that would be helpful tonight.
sure. And
So
I can respond to that in the way of the
Well-
budget as well, whereas the consistency of the assessor's office is super important. And where I'm going with that is that if we keep looking for a new inspection company and switching in and out, we go to Mayflower, we go to RRG, there's a company called RRC, maybe we go to them. We're not being consistent, and a huge part of the assessor's office is consistency. So this is why you continue to see me put RRG in our budget.
And if I could just comment, I would say, Counselor Jarvis, this is about the budget. It's about money that we're talking about that the city has to deal with. So it's money that's supposed to be accounted for. So I would clearly say it's part of the budget. And it's very appropriate to talk about it in this forum. So.
I can't see everybody else, so if you do have a comment, you can just speak up, because I see a lot of low bandwidths out there tonight. Doug, were you done?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Ed?
Yes.
Hi, I'm finally back on. I'm the big eye.
She's the big eye in the corner.
I'm the
You're
big eye in the
the
corner.
Okay, so we had
I
started.
cannot get in any other way, so
Okay, that's good. I'll catch you up to date. We just did the assessor's budget, but now we are taking questions. So that's where we are right now. We're taking questions.
can you tell me what questions have been asked so far?
The question came from Councilor Mayo, just a little bit of explanation about the discrepancies in the assessor's assessments that were brought up at the city council meeting.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
that's where we are, and I was moving on to any other counselors, but we're having a tough time seeing them because everybody has low bandwidth.
Liz has her hand
I
up, but
don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened on the days. Anyway. So Ed, go ahead. Why don't you finish chairing this part of the meeting with the assessors, and I'll take over?
Oh, okay.
With treasurer collector. Is that good?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So any other questions for the assessors, please?
I actually have one, if I may.
Yep.
It's in regard to the contract. So I don't know if it's actually a question for you. This is the RRG contract. So Kim, I'm not sure if it's yours, Mayor's, or Liz's. So I'm going to ask. So we all have a copy of that contract, and I see that the contract was 3 years, and right now we're in the last of our 3 years. And then there was an option to push it out for another year, and an option after that to push it out for another year. So my question is, well, first to the mayor, I'm assuming that you made the decision to push it out for another year.
I believe that probably happened under Bill. I don't recall doing that. I honestly did not have anything to do with that contract. I support the decision, but
So I think, I'm sorry, Mary, did we
Go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
I think we have not physically signed a contract. One has not been presented back to us from RRG yet. We have to re-sign with them. But the as you see in my budget, I have budgeted as if this is the intention.
I'm sorry, could you say that last part again?
I just said I have budgeted as though we will be re-signing them because that is hopefully the intentions.
Okay,
And you did, I did say in the beginning when I don't think you were on yet that the the increase in the contract is actually a lot to do with the fact that we're in a revaluation year. And in cities and towns, when you're in a revaluation year, you generally have a largely increased budget as it is. So we're actually, although you do see an increase from year to year, we are also saving money by doing this as well because we're not having to hire an extra attorney, extra people to do extra inspections or any extra work that the state is asking the city to do. So there is a little background to that as well.
thank you. I keep shaking my head yes, but you can't see me. I see you. So. Okay, so my next question is, I haven't read all the fine print in the contract, but is there, I don't know if you have knowledge of this, Kim, is there a part of the contract that talks about the percentage that goes towards personnel that are provided by RRG? Oh, am I mute?
No, you're there. No, that's not any of our business really. That's something that they do internally and not part of anything that I know of.
Okay, so they provide us with a field assessor or an assessor that goes around, and they provide us with software. And
No, they do
No.
not provide any
Okay.
software.
Okay, no software. So it's just for the person who goes around and does our assessing and brings information back to the office.
No.
Would you, okay, strike three. Would you like to tell me again?
Yes. So ROG for us, they negotiate differently per whatever the city and town needs that they're in. But for Greenfield, we have one specific person who it comes to our city, but there are multiple people that are available to us. By this I mean we have in this case we specifically have Jeff Reynolds who is in our office weekly working with me. I'm on the phone with him multiple times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. Then we also had another person that was in the office with us as well when I had just come back from maternity leave, and so they were just helping to catch us up from all the things that hadn't been done during that time frame. Right now, she is currently in another town, so we just have Jeff. But if we need some help with personal property, we have contacts that will help us with our personal property. There's someone specifically that they've hired that only does personal property. So when our form of lists are completed, we'll be sending them off to her, or she'll be coming to our office and working on those. And by sending them off, I don't mean physically handing this box of paper to her because they can't leave the office. I mean, we forward them through the computer system. So we email them all to them. So we also they have someone who specializes in ATB cases. They have someone who specializes in commercial and industrial. They have someone who specializes in solar. So any little need that we might have, we have a resource through them to get the information. So it's not just one physical body. We also have a team of inspectors that come out, and it's the same people every year who do our building permits. We have, people who do the cyclical inspections. It's the same people every year who come to Greenfield and do these inspections, as well as myself. I am shadowing them currently in many inspections because I'm fairly new to that, and I don't want to just jump the gun and go out there and have my work be completely different than theirs, because there's your inconsistency and there's where you come up with some issues. So it's not just one person. It's many people at any time of the day, week. It doesn't matter what you need. You get an answer within a couple of hours.
Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see Liz has a question. Go ahead, Liz.
Oh, no, I just had a comment.
Okay,
We also would be paying, I don't know if you recall, but when it's the reval year, usually bumps up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's included in their price. Secondly, what folks forget is when they look at costs, they forget when you have staff members, you're paying about a 35% fringe benefit rate. So when you just look at something and say, oh, that's a salary, no, it's not. So the other thing I would say too is that the mayor and Kim and I met, and we plan to have a more detailed session on this because of the meeting the other night, and that there was a lot of inaccurate and incomplete information given. But we want to go through it all with you, which is very detailed. So we came here to discuss, the budget. But we are going to be scheduling something more in depth with you all.
Not in May, however, June or July.
No, that's perfectly fine. I agree, not in May. Thank you. That actually, I'm happy to hear that, actually. I think that would be an important piece.
I also just want to point out too that I'm happy to give any information that I am able by law to give. And when people come with questions, whether it be phone calls, emails, in person, whatever it is, those of you who've come to me with these questions know that I will bend over backwards to help you understand what it is that I'm doing and why. I had a conversation with someone today that didn't go as they would have liked it to go. But at the same time, they understood that I'm doing my job and there's laws that I have to follow. So I can't bend them just because I think you're nice. As much as I would love to, I can't.
I used to always tell people, Kim, I don't make up the rules. I only have to play by them. So
Exactly.
anybody else have any questions for Kim? You can speak up, or I can't see everybody. So
I just have a one.
okay, then.
Would you say that the assessing firm is there like 1 day or 2 days a week?
It really depends on the week. Sometimes they're physically in the office 1 day a week. Sometimes they're physically in the office multiple days a week. But I generally am on the phone with them for one reason or another multiple times a week. Depending on what's going on in the office, it could be every single day.
Okay, and their budget line item was like 107,000, I think. That's correct.
It was 107,500.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, Doug. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I think it would behoove us to have, a retraining, not only to the city councilors, because we're going to have to explain this to the residents that we represent, but it might even behoove us to open it up to have a part of a town council meeting deal with assessing and how that's done, because it was the residents who brought this issue up, and they were I think it's more that they need to be educated than us on the council. But it couldn't hurt to have a review course from the council or to the council on just how that whole process is done, so that we don't run into what happened last week again.
Yeah, I believe, Doug, that the mayor and Liz and Kim just spoke on that later on in June and July, later on during the summer, we're going to be doing that.
And to your point, Councillor Mayo, we definitely would welcome members of the public to attend the meeting as well.
Thank you.
That's it, Doug? Anything else? Or?
No, I'm all fine.
Okay, anybody else?
Ed,
Yes.
I would like you to continue because nobody can see me. And except an eye. So
I
if
thought
you're
I was-
okay with that, I'd love it.
I thought I was going to be off the hook, but I will continue.
Okay, thank you. I'd like
Let me first thank Kim for her time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you for all
Thank-
listening.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for all the answers too.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to the treasurer collectors part of the budget.
I know Liz just had her hand up. I don't know if she was.
No,
trying to-
I
go
was just
ahead.
going to tell everybody great news that Kim passed her final course and is now applying for her official designation.
Very good.
That is
Congratulations.
wonderful.
I took it yesterday.
Lot of
Yeah.
courses, right, Kim?
I 8 courses, yes.
Fabulous.
That's all.
Have
Fabulous.
some champagne.
Absolutely.
That's something to be
Okay.
very much proud of. That's
Thank you. I am very proud. It was eight long classes and 8 very hard tests, but 8 nights of being sick before the exam because I'm nervous wreck that I would fail them, but I passed them all.
I understand. I understand it all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so treasurer collector part of it. I
Hello.
believe. Yes.
I'm here.
There you go. We know who's up next.
Yes. So I'll just briefly go through my budget. It's not a whole lot changes from year to year with me. Salaries, it's just me and 2 full-time people. I would have loved to have added back a part-time person this year, but with COVID and everything, we just level funded. Maybe next year we can get another person back as far as staffing goes. Slight change in the office equipment and furnishings line item because we have a contract for our folding and stuffing machine for maintenance that goes up slightly every year. So there's a slight increase there from last year. We don't have any software, bank services. We moved some stuff that we were paying for some fees for parking, I think, which is now in their budget. So that's why there's a decrease in the bank services line item. Bond issuance expense, keeping it at $25,000, which seems to be enough. We're trying to limit ourselves to temporary borrowings and bondings, bondings every other year at, maybe every 3 years, temporary borrowings once a year. So that's more than enough money to cover that. My schooling is only $100 a year. I'm very cheap to keep me educated. So, and our printing line item went up a bit because we are now outsourcing the printing and mailing of all of our bills because we did lose a staff member last year. So it's helping us not get bogged down with having to print and stuff and mail everything. So that is all I have in my own budget. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions for Kelly on that part of the budget? I can't see anybody, so you can just speak up.
This actually sort of pertains to the budget, but are you finding, when you were talking about the number of staff, have you found that more people are coming in or mailing in? That's indirectly related, mailing in their tax payments.
No, now that we have the drop box, we have a lot of people that drop it there because the mail has notoriously been really slow lately. We do have more people paying online. I actually have been trying to research new technology for us to be able to make things more online for people so that people can look up their own bills, reprint their own bills. I thought I had found a solution for that, but it turned out it was going to be much more expensive. So I'm back to the drawing board, trying to find something that's going to be cost effective for the town and cost effective for the taxpayer who's maybe paying online with a credit card. So, I'm always trying to look for things to make stuff more efficient and easier for everybody.
So I
and
have a question.
Go ahead.
So I have a question for you, a real quick question.
Sure.
When I pay my bill, I always return all the envelopes. I never use them because I go into the office
Yep.
and pay right there. Is there, I know it's probably minuscule return on the town's investment, but do you see any change when people do that, or are there a lot of people who are like returning the envelope, for their tax bill or whatever bill that they end up paying, and there's
We
that
do have
blank?
people bring them back, and we do try and reuse them.
Yeah.
Right now with COVID, we haven't been. We've just been recycling them.
Okay.
But in previous times, we would try and reuse them.
Yep.
So that we wouldn't have to buy more envelopes.
Okay. Thank you.
We are very good about trying to recycle and reuse stuff and get stuff for free if we can.
Oh yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
And I also understand. I forgot that you wouldn't want to do something like that during COVID anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for Kelly. Hi, Kelly. It's Chris.
Hi.
I know that you have put this in your report, but not everybody's got a book in front of them. But I wondered if you would talk to us a little bit about tax title.
Sure. Well, that's another one of my budgets. So, tax title. What exactly do you want me to talk about?
Well, I know that we are up this year in tax title. I know that one of the things you had talked about in your report was that you were moving. Now, I don't want to get this wrong, but you were moving more quickly than you had in the past to
We
collect.
actually haven't. No.
I'm sorry?
We haven't moved any. With COVID, we haven't sped up the process at all. The city of Greenfield is actually, we're very slow at putting people in tax title. Normally, what most towns do is you send out a demand after the end of the fiscal year. You give them 14 days to pay the demand, and then you can start the process right then and there. We actually give people a whole nother year to pay before we start the tax taking process. So get out of here, Kat. So by law, we could have sped it up. And in some ways it helps the taxpayer. So like those people who are just kind of like ignoring it, it kind of brings it more to their attention quicker if we were to speed it up. And it actually helps the city too, because we don't want people to get behind and have it be harder for them to get themselves caught up. And also if they get behind and they contact me quicker, we can maybe put them in touch with services that can help them, put them in touch with the assessor's office for abatements before it gets, too hard for them to get caught up.
Okay.
But just with COVID, I didn't want to start pressuring people, especially knowing people are out of jobs and, people are struggling right now. I did try and send out letters to everybody that was behind, more letters than I normally would, just as a, hey, you're behind on your taxes, like contact me, try and make payments, stuff like that. And if we were going to speed up the process, that's definitely something that like Liz and the mayor and I would have to talk about, whether it would be beneficial for us to or not. Right now, like the actual people that are in tax title, we don't have that many. Our tax title balance is actually very low compared to other cities. So at this point, I don't see the benefit in doing that just because of the state we're in. But certainly it's something, if our tax title balance starts to grow, we might want to think about doing it. But right now I'm not looking to change the process.
Okay, thank you. I have a follow-up if I could, please.
Sure.
When property goes to auction, so the town is auctioning property.
Mhm.
Before it is, I don't know if this is legal, but before it is sold, I know you put it out to bid, okay? So when bids are open, is there a mechanism whereby if somebody who already owes us taxes, back taxes, can that be collected at that time?
Are you talking about somebody who bids on the property?
Well, you go out to bid, somebody bids it, they win the bid, and then they win the bid, so they're going to pay for the property, but they are in arrears to the town of Greenfield for other property tax.
So no. So when we sell property at auction, one of the stipulations is that you cannot owe the city back taxes for anything. You are disqualified as a bidder if you owe the city money.
Oh, I didn't.
If you're an arsonist, or there's a couple other stipulations too. But
okay, so like if there's a person wins the bid, but on another piece of property that's owned by that person, and they're in arrears, there's no mechanism where you can collect that money or.
No, I can't.
Okay.
I can't forcibly make that person pay the money in order to get this property he's trying to buy, he or she. There's nothing legally I can do to force that.
Okay, thank you.
And anybody else have any questions for Kelly?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Isn't there, I think the state does this, but isn't there any way that if somebody is in arrears in the tax payment, and I've run into a couple of situations where it's happened, and the Board of Health has had to go out on a couple of houses to because the house has been complained of, and what also has happened is that they have not paid their taxes, and I'm wondering, and so there's no way that these people are penalized in any fashion, and I know in certain circumstances the state will not renew your driver's license if you're in arrears in certain situations. Is there any way that the town can do something like that, or just because it seems to me like there's no mechanism for the town to collect the money that it's owed, and we're talking about, in the situation that I knew of, it was in arrear. They were in arrears for several years before they and still are. So the town is out 7 years worth of money with no option, with no way to get it back.
I guess I'm not quite sure what you're asking me, because you were talking about the Board of Health and then you're talking about taxes. So.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of two situations that happened. People were complaining that there was the place was a dump. It was a dumping grounds, but at the same time they weren't paying their taxes. So the Board of Health went out and did an inspection and said, and then he found out that they had been fined, but hadn't paid their taxes, and hadn't paid their fines. And I thought it was just very strange after several years that there was no mechanism that the town could collect.
Well, we do. I mean, if they they're in land court. We can only make the court system move so fast. And if it's one of the properties I'm thinking of, everybody who's an heir to the owner of the property has to be served. And in some cases, there's no probated estate, and it's heirs of heirs of heirs of heirs of heirs. You know, like the court will not allow us to foreclose or do anything until everybody has been served in the case. So from my perspective, I always pursue anybody who owes taxes. The city has also adopted a mechanism for you to lien any of those fines that like the health department, building department, fire department assesses to any of these properties. We can add that to their taxes. So it's not like it goes unchecked. I mean, we always pursue all these things, but how fast it happens is sometimes
Right.
beyond my control.
Right. Well, I'm glad with, you know, what you had just said was exactly what I wanted to hear, is that, you know, you could add it to their taxes at the end of the year, and also maybe if you wanted to add the fines on there as well for not paying for several years, you could do that too.
Yeah, we're still, I mean, we still haven't gotten a mechanism together to do that, but it is accepted. We are working on it.
Kelly,
Okay.
can you verify that when we have an auction and tax foreclosure,
Yep.
that the taxes are paid off that are owed?
We try and get enough money to cover that.
From the proceeds.
Yes, we try to.
Okay.
It's not, I mean, you have to remember
It's
there's
not guaranteed.
tons of interest and everything that are factored into what, you know, what we consider
Right.
the balance. But yes, we try and sell it. Most of the time we sell it and we make a decent amount of money on the property, which goes back into the general fund for the city.
Right. But the taxes that were owed get cleared up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that does eventually get paid.
In a way.
That's all my point.
Yes.
Yes, I got it. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Jenny, did you have a question?
It was just asked and answered. Thank you.
Oh, okay, very good. I saw you come up on the screen before Doug, so I just want, anybody else have any more questions for Kelly? Okay, Kelly, I'm all new at this, and this is my first time. So, is there any other part of the budget that belongs to you?
Yes. The debt belongs to me too.
There you go. Okay, I'm not going to let you off the hook then.
No. I'll let you guys ask questions. I mean, the debt is the debt. There is no changing it. We're obligated to make these payments every year. So it is what it is.
I saw today, I can't find it right at the moment. The last line in the list of the debt going down said something. Can you read that last line? Just on the list of debt, it said, it was a figure. Let's just see.
Are you looking under
I-
the principal? There's a bunch of different sections.
I'm sorry, my connection is
I
so
can
bad.
read it, I think, if you'd like. I
Chris, are
think
you talking about the interest on notes payable, the 30,000?
No, not the interest piece, just the debt. The debt. Wait a minute.
Okay.
The van pay down, Kelly.
Let me just look.
Oh, okay. You're looking at principal pay down? Is that what you're?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I mean, we always budget a little bit in there to pay down for smaller projects. And also we knew that there was going to be some money that would need to be paid down for anaerobic digester this year. So because the project is shifting gears and we've already borrowed money anticipating that we were going to do the original project. So And when you borrow the money, you have to spend it within a certain time frame, and that's not going to happen. So some of that will have to get paid back.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question about the debt. And I don't know if this is for Director Gilman or for you, Kelly, but the multi-purpose loans that we've taken out last year, we budgeted for things. I see a multi-purpose loan 2009, 12, 16, and 19. Did we take out a loan last year for 2020? Or you just a
Yes.
temporary ban? I mean,
It was supposed to be in 2019. That's why it's listed in Munis under 2019. But we actually did do the bonding in 2020. That was the one that got held up because the audit wasn't finished.
Okay, so that is, it's bonded for, and it's available for whatever department that is to use it. That came up last night at another meeting.
Well, no, these are for projects that have already happened.
Okay, fine.
It's not just available for anybody.
No. It came up, I am asking that in regards to something that came up last night. Something that we had approved, and the entity had, we approved it, and I just wanted to make sure, I know you had talked about that we'd temporarily, like, a ban that's in advance, but we bonded for everything. We didn't bond for everything that we approved last year because some of it hasn't been done.
No.
Correct.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, any of those like projects that you would have approved last year, we probably have bans out on them if we know they're already in process or going to be started soon.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Is that, follow up, is that the usual amount that we pay down, the principal pay down? Or have we in other years paid down more?
We've paid down more in the past.
Like, how, do you have any idea how much more?
Liz has her hand up. She might remember what that is.
No, I'm not remember. What I want to say is when you've had a ban out for a certain amount of time, you have to make a mandatory principal pay down on that. So that also influences that amount that's in the budget.
Yeah. Everything we had bans out on, we bonded this past, I forget what year we're in, August of 2020.
Yeah.
2019. Yeah. Like it all blends together now. But so everything that we have new for bans, we're not into that period where we have to make a pay down yet. Next year we will have, some of it will have been out for 2 years, which is the magic number for when you have to start making pay downs. So next year we will have to pay down a little bit.
So the multi-purpose loan in 2019 was not for anything that we voted on last year. It was for the year before, correct?
It could have been the year before, could have been several years.
3 years
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, not seeing anybody. I think, Kelly, other than my when I pay my bill, my check writing fee went up 25 cents, but I guess I can deal with that. But that's
Yeah,
the way
but now you can
that's
pay it
the way I prefer
if you
to
want.
pay
It's
for
only
it.
50 cents.
So there we go. Other than that, great job. Good to see you again. And
I see you.
I guess you're off the hook.
Okay, I'm gonna stop my cats from destroying things here.
There you go. Very good. Thanks, Kelly. Okay, next, I think we have the rec department. I believe so. Let me go back to my agenda, make sure I got this right. Recreation, yes.
That's correct.
Christy, are you there?
Yes, I am, Councilor Jarvis. You're doing
There
a
you
great
are.
job, by the way.
Thank you. I'm turning it back over to Crystal the next time.
I know you weren't prepared.
No, you're doing great.
So, for those of you that have your budget books, my two-lined budget is on page 151, if that's helpful. My department only has salaries in our budget, so we offer a lot of different creative and innovative programs, facilities, and events for our community, all based upon the budget of 3 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff. I don't know if there's, I mean, I can talk a little bit more about what we do, but I think you guys pretty much know what we do. Like I said, it's just staff. I'm not sure what kind of questions you may have, but I'm here to answer any, and appreciate your support in supporting our budget.
Okay, very good. I'll just go first by saying that you guys do a phenomenal job with the staff that you have and researching all the grants and getting money for the city. You guys do a great job, and you should be applauded with only 3 of you doing that job. So
Thank you.
it speaks well for your department's dedication. Anybody else have any questions for Christy?
I just wanted to comment on a kind of a follow-up on what Ed said. I just noticed this year how willing you were to step into any role that was needed. And thank you for all the support townwide that you always provide. But this year, I just happened to notice that you were wearing any hat that was needed and pitching in. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Happy to do it.
Anybody else? Well, not hearing any. Boy, Christy, that was a lot easier than Ways and Means, wasn't it?
That is for sure. I appreciate it. You got all your
last
questions
meeting
out.
We had you for capital, so I guess we made it. We were tough on you in capital, but we're going to let you off the hook on budget, I guess.
All right. Well, much appreciated.
Thank you. Keep up the
Have a
good
good
work.
night.
Thank you. And we are on to the library.
Yes, I'm sorry. I too have not been able to figure out how to have it not say conference@greenfield-ma.gov.
That's okay. You're good, Ellen. You're good. We know who you are. So
I'm Ellen Boyer. I'm the library director. So I tried very hard to do as Liz had instructed us to do, and that was level fund or provide a budget for level services. And our budget actually came in just a little bit under what it was last year. We had some people retire, we had some people resign during COVID, and we did not replace them immediately because, as some of you may know, the library was completely closed. Our interlibrary loan delivery system was shut down, and our Greenfield Public Library building was closed. We remain closed for public access to the building. We will open next month, 2 days a week, but we do have curbside delivery. I'm happy to go through my budget line by line if you need me to do that. But the thing I really want to make all of you aware of is the danger in level funding the library's budget every year. The library is overseen by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. They are a state agency established in 1890 with the statutory responsibility to organize, develop, coordinate, and improve library services in the state. They are governed by 9 commissioners who are appointed by the governor. They provide grant programs to all of the public libraries in the state. The one that's the most important for us right now is the construction grant program. And what is that? $9,378,183 distributed to the city of Greenfield in 5 equal payments of $1,875,637. We just got our second payment. They also provide us with an annual state aid grant That's usually between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. And they provide smaller grant opportunities when funds are available. The most recent one we took advantage of was a customer service grant of $15,000. When you level fund the library's budget 5 years in a row, all of those grant opportunities are removed from, you're no longer allowed to participate in those. We are currently in year 3, but thanks to COVID, they've reset everything to year 0. And we start all over whenever the state goes back to its normal schedule. So the library's budget has to increase by a certain formula that the state provides. It doesn't make me popular with the other department heads. I don't know that any other department has a state agency that governs them like we have the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that situation that the library faces every year when I'm asked to level fund the budget. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good, Ellen. Thank you very much. And I'd just like to say that hopefully the years coming down the road, we won't be level funding anybody. Hopefully we start a strong recovery, we have a strong downtown, and we have some businesses come in and we can say to people, increase your budget by 5%. and department heads will be jumping for joy.
That's for sure.
I'd just like to say you folks at the library do a tremendous job. For 30 years of my career, I was right next door to you folks, and I could see the people coming and going, the young children, the grandmothers that enjoyed taking them. People enjoyed it. So it was a pleasure, and we often got visitors after they were done with you. So anybody have any questions on this year's budget? Wow, we're going to let you off the hook that easily. I guess when
Thank you.
I guess when you're level funded, there isn't that many hard questions that can be asked. So
I don't have a question. I just have a comment that I learned something tonight from you about the Massachusetts Library Board. I didn't actually realize that, and thank you for explaining it and for all you do.
And maybe as Liz and Kim and the mayor have agreed to come in and explain the work that the assessor's office does, maybe in a subsequent month, if you guys would like me to come back and go into a lot more detail about the things that we have to do to remain certified and to be eligible for grants, be eligible to participate in CW Mars. That's another thing that goes away if I'm level funded 5 years in a row. And I know, Councilor DeSorger, that you've taken advantage of the CW Mars network. It would be devastating to Greenfield if we had to be a standalone library and not participate in the interlibrary loan that happens with all of the libraries in central and western Massachusetts. And just so you know, for me to meet that standard this year, I would have needed $16,000 more in my budget, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. I know it is, but in the big picture, at any rate, thank you guys very much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next line item, which is Council of Aging, and I believe that's Hope.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Good. I had some issues and I had to relocate in my house because we are not on GCET where I live. So I'm super looking forward when something like that happens in the town that I live in. On the technology thing, I just wanted to say that ironically, the library, they're so technically advanced, but I'm going to give them a tip. which is you just set up your own personal WebEx and you can put your name in there. But the reason I say that is because I know I'm here to talk about my own department, but I got to tell you that this year and the last year, I've never had so much appreciation for my sister departments. And particularly for technology, when seniors need help, we send them to the library. So, so thank you all. And thank you for inviting me. I can't wait till these meetings are in person because I think we're all seriously, I don't know what the term is, zoomed out, even though we're on WebEx, but thank you all for even putting up with this remotely. We're looking forward to starting up the senior center again, and we're making plans. In fact, today we had, it was really uplifting because we did this, you know, very old school sticky notes with different colors, and we're thinking about which programs are going to be in which room. So after a very long year or so, we were, our building was very well used by the Emergency Operations Center, and I cannot think of a higher or better use for your community center than doing vaccines. I can't, honestly, I can't think of a better use. And it's been our privilege as COA staff to work alongside everyone who's been involved in the vaccination effort, from the Board of Health to emergency operations to public safety, everyone. It's just been really just very moving. So thank you for that. But yeah, we are definitely ready to. We are ready to get started. We did close our doors to the public, to the building, but we were still there just like everybody else, you know, working from home. But we were lucky enough to have offices that we could return to. And we opened the senior center for 4 months in the middle of the pandemic, where very few senior centers did that. And I just want to acknowledge my staff for being brave enough to do that, because that wasn't easy, but it was very meaningful for all of us. So when we weren't open to the public, or at the same time that we were for those few months, we were doing Are You Okay calls. We have been out curbside doing grab and go lunch in all kinds of weather, myself and our activities director. We do our food monthly. We're launching our senior tax work-off program. And because the vaccine clinics are located in our building, I know everyone gets vaccine calls. I cannot imagine a department that doesn't get them. But because it's in our building, that's a large percentage of the phone calls and emails that we get, and I'm proud to say that I think we've done a great job with that. But let's get to the budget, because that's the topic of the meeting. I submitted a reduced budget, and my motto this year is, I cut the budget so you don't have to. Now, the reason I say that is not because I don't think we deserve it, but we're really in a big transition, right? We moved from our little mom and pop senior center over in the Weldon, which was great, to our beautiful new community center. And we were there for a year and everything was great. And then the pandemic hit. And during that time, we've had some time to reflect, and we don't want to just return our staffing levels to what were there 35 years ago. We want to take a pause, assess the situation, and plan for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So we did not fill the volunteer coordinator position. We're leaving that open. The 3 remaining staff, we've been working together for quite a long time, And we are fine with working extra hard this year on behalf of the residents of Greenfield. And we're also at the same time doing a staffing assessment. And rest assured, for the FY23 budget, it will not be at this level. But it's an eye towards what do the seniors need, but also what does Greenfield need for a senior center that is housed in a community center. And we're going to take this time and this year and assess that, particularly with an eye towards the after hours, which we know there's an appetite for that. And so we're assessing. So I welcome your questions and thank you, honestly, just all for being here and hearing about what the seniors need.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Hope? Wow, seeing that you went above and beyond and cut your budget, I guess there are no questions for you.
I do have a question.
Okay, very good, Doug. Yep.
Not a question, but a comment. But I want to thank Hope and all her staff for what they've done this year. They went out over and above what they were expected to do, and Greenfield expects a lot of their staff, and you guys rose above that, and we want to thank you. So on behalf of Greenfield, I thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Anybody else? I'm sorry, Carol. I can only be the city councilors. I'm sorry. I saw your hand up. I just thought I'd recognize that. I did see it. I too would like to reflect, Hope. It's been great. I volunteered a lot during the pandemic, giving shots over there. Great facility, and I'm glad that it's going to be turned back over to the folks that can enjoy it and are proud to have it and call that their senior center and their community center. So you guys do a great job there.
Thank you, Councillor Jarvis.
Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna let you off the hook for the rest of the night, and hope to see you soon.
I'm going to stay, but I am going to take my video off. Thanks.
Okay, and I believe we're going to be moving on to energy, and I believe that's Carol.
Good evening, everyone. I had my hand up because Hope was talking about the Zoom fatigue, and I've learned the word for that is languishing, and it's helped me try to cope. And all I'm hoping for now is that we're not getting the cicadas, and then I think we'll all be okay.
Okay.
If we do, I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, thank you very much for inviting me here to talk about my budget. And like Hope, mine is actually less. I was surprised to see that as I was reviewing everything. So I guess that means I get no questions too. So I'll take that. But I would like to report a few, I guess, progress notes. And actually, I think we have a lot of exciting things to share. I'm sorry I hear an echo and I don't know how to fix that. But one of the things, one of our accomplishments is we've finally completed the 1.2 megawatt solar farm on the Millbrook well field. We're in the process of waiting for Eversource to turn that on. Once that happens, we will start saving approximately $63,000 a year on electricity bills. We have a new heating system up at the police department that was paid for largely through grants. That's been completed and is saving about $9,000 a year. We've been maintaining or exceeding our goal to reduce municipal energy consumption by 20%, and over FY20 it was actually 27%, which is the best year we've had so far, and the result of many, many interdisciplinary efforts. And there's lots of other things, but I usually try to put them all in the narrative of the energy, the budget book. And as you know, I have a lot of line items, so I'll just wait to see if anyone has questions about that. But I also wanted to bring some more good news, and that is that as I state, part of our mission is to bring short and long-term savings that aggregate over the years, and we keep a running track of all of our grants and incentives and energy savings. And since 2014, our new tally is that the combined efforts have resulted in almost $4.5 million worth of savings for the city. And roughly that's about, we're saving about $500,000 a year. So that is exciting to share. And we also have an additional $72,000 in our recently completed projects that we're going to add to that. And that also correlates to reducing our carbon dioxide emissions quite substantially, and it's the equivalent of planting 57 acres of forest. So I'd say that's not too shabby for a department of one full-time and one part-time person. We're small but mighty, and we love to do whatever we can to help out. And I guess if I can highlight one more thing, we do try to make ourselves of use wherever possible. So when the schools needed to purchase air purification units for all of the classrooms, it was definitely a necessity to reopening plan. We jumped in and helped secure incentives that brought the cost from over $61,000 down to $16,000 and saved the city almost $48,000 on that purchase. So it's things like that we love to be able to kind of plug in, and energy really does fit in with every department. And as I always say, if you plug it in or turn it on, call us and we'll do what we can. So I could go on, but I know it's already been a long night, and I will wait to see if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Carol, thank you very much. You took my thunder away from you. I was going to say, you guys do a great job for 1.5 personnels. The city should be proud to have you folks on board. Every time I'm turning around or I'm at a meeting for a building or something like that, you find very inventive ways to save us money and energy. So kudos to you and your staff, and thank you very much. So does anybody have any questions for Carol?
I just have a comment that it really kind of echoes what you said, Councilor Jarvis, but I've been listening to these budget meetings for years, and I love it when your department comes up because it's just another way where we've saved and saved and saved. Thank you for your hard work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilor Jarvis, I have a quick question on the budget. Carol, I noticed that there's an increase in the cost of oil for the fire station over last year. Can you talk to us about that?
I can. So as of right now, and I think for anyone who's been on the council for a while, you've heard me say some of my things, but this is kind of like a, I have to get out a crystal ball and try to predict the future. But
sure, I
as of right now, the fire station is supposed to move to the temporary location as of, I think it's now August. It was earlier. So I had budgeted the full year of them at the temporary station, which will actually be propane fired for heat. And so it's somewhat of a guess because we don't really know what the usage is, but it's based on pulling information from similar types of buildings and using the current costs for propane. And, I'll adjust that after we get through that first winter. They're supposed to be there for about 2.5 years as of right now. So, again, I try to make the best estimate I can, but I prefer to err on the side of caution so that we're not under budget. I do hope that number is actually lower than that, but I think it could be that high.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'd almost venture, Carol, that the temporaries are going to be more airtight than the present fire station. It's pretty breezy.
I would hope so. I know. We'll see. It'll be, a lesson for all of us.
So, any more questions or comments? Wow. I guess you are off the hook for the rest of the night, Carol, and keep up the good work. Thank you for all you do for the city.
Oh, thank you all. I'm happy to do it, and have a great night.
Okay, I now see GSET, and that means that we have Mr. Lunt.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. GSET, unlike some of these other departments, operates with an enterprise fund. And I do want to go through a few different things for you, but the first thing I want to say, and the most important thing, is that for this upcoming budget, we do anticipate that GSET will be operating in the black, and that we will be covering our operating expenses with our revenues going forward. It was a lot of work to get there, and a lot of expansion, and that's something that we feel pretty good about. You may have noticed that we have just finished expanding into the Deerfield Street area. We are moving on now and moving up Bernardston Road. We're going to spend most of next year working in North Greenfield, up Bernardston Road and west over Severance to head to the Barton Road area. And hopefully we'll be going, taking a right and heading out to Adams Road on Long Plain Road as well too. We think that will let us cover about another 650 most likely additional homes. So we're continuing to build out. We're continuing to cover more people. I like it when Carol shows how much she's saved, because they've done a great job doing that. I can tell you that right now, on average, Greenfield is saving, GSET is saving Greenfield customers over $1 million a year over what they were spending before on their internet and TV bills. And we think that will only continue to grow as we grow customers. Our goals for the year are to increase revenues by a third. That sounds like a lot. It's actually pretty far down from what we've done in the past. As our base gets bigger and bigger, it gets harder to deliver 50 and 100% increases on that base. But we're at the point now where we're pretty good at projecting how much new business we'll get from new areas and what continuing business growth we will get out of current areas. And we're feeling, barring some sort of force majeure event, we're feeling pretty confident that we will have the customer base large enough in the upcoming year to be solidly and sustainably in the black and begin to do what we have already laid out in the pilot program, which is become an outfit that will bring some money back to Greenfield, as well as saving money for people who use GSET. There are a couple of things that rose in the budget, and I think one of the important things to realize is about 50% of those are items that are variable with sales, with revenues. So for example, the single largest one is when we get a new customer for our bundled internet and TV, we have to pay for the TV content like everyone else does. And that's about a third of the increase in and of itself. But that only happens if the revenue that's associated with adding that customer, which is substantially more than the cost that is going out, happens. So if we don't get that customer, we don't incur that cost. So that cost is directly pegged to the revenue line that we have above. That's also true for things like bank fees. That's also true for some of the contracts we have and some of the maintenance and depreciation work we do. So when you look at the numbers, about half of those numbers only happen if the revenue happens. There are some things that just do have to go up. The biggest one for us is in this last year, we saw a tremendous rise in bandwidth usage, in part because we added quite a few more customers. We had a lot of people working from home. We had a lot of students working from home. We're actually particularly proud of the equity program that we do in conjunction with Greenfield Savings Banks and Gilmore and Farrell Insurance, that we have dozens of low-income families who have had free access to internet so they could keep attending school during the pandemic. But there has been a tremendous amount of usage. The network runs 24/7, and there is not one moment, be it 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the morning, where we don't have quite a few people online. If there are ever any problems, we basically say that we have about 30 seconds before we hear from customers. So the way internet purchasing works is you can't just buy a little bit more as you go. It's not sold that way. Or it is, but it ends up being far more expensive to do that. So we are going from 5 gigabits of backbone availability to 10 gigabits. It is much less expensive to go from 5 to 10 than it was to go from 1 to 5. But the good news is that will keep us in good stead for several years. There is no option to go from 5 to 6 or 5 to 7. It just doesn't work that way. So that's the biggest chunk of the increase for fixed costs. And the other one is in retirement, and that is a little misleading because what we've been doing for the last few years is spreading our retirement out over several years, because the first year we got there, we cut about 50% of the personnel in GCED, and we actually we're still at 8 people. We haven't added anybody. We're not planning on it. First assessment of retirement that we had when we got there was frankly enormous and not something that at the time GCED could pay. So we've been working with the retirement board, who have been terrific, to parcel that out over a few years. And one of the things we're trying to do next year is, because we are feeling very good about our revenues, is to just clear that out and make sure that we get to the point where we're just paying for 1 year's assessment and not for monies that were brought forward to help smooth things out. So that increase is about, I believe it's about $35,000 or $40,000. And again, we do have the option of smoothing if we need to, but we don't think we will have to, because we're feeling pretty confident about revenues. And those really make up the biggest chunk, other than bank fees. More customers, and they downline, you have more bank fees. That's sort of how it works. So we'll continue to build out. I think we've gotten to a really good place where we're able to project our revenues with a lot more confidence. We continue to operate as efficiently as we can, and we will be adding pretty large areas in North Greenfield over the course of the next year. So I'm happy to take any questions that people might have.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll be appreciative when you get up here. I see your rates and I know what I pay your other competition.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, increased our fees because they had to increase. They also ran out of bandwidth problems too. So,
Yeah.
and I'll stop getting emails from people in Precinct 1 asking when you're going to get up
Yeah.
here. So,
Yeah, we're coming.
it'll be greatly appreciative. Anybody have any questions for John?
Councilor Jarvis, I do. Hi, John.
Hey, how are you, Counselor?
I'm doing okay. I have a question.
Sure.
When we get the build out, complete build out and everything else, so the idea that we will be self-sufficient and Comcast will not be an option in Greenfield?
Well, we don't have any control over what Comcast offers or doesn't offer in Greenfield. They're certainly active in areas that we're active in now. So the point for us is to complete the build out and offer the municipal option to everyone in Greenfield. I frankly doubt Comcast will just stop. I think we'll continue to compete with them.
A follow-up piece, because it is related to Comcast.
Sure.
Is there any plan for GCET to provide local programming like we have with GCTV?
Yes, that depends on other people than just DSET. We have left several spots. Not to get too technical, there's basically a machine that we use to receive local TV signals that we then rebroadcast along with the national cable channels that we send out. So we get, for example, channel 22 differently than we get Bravo, or something like that. And
Okay.
we have specifically left open for the town of Greenfield and also for GCTV, and let them know that they have to be able to provide us with a signal. We can't do that. But if they do, we will add them in at no charge to the network. So people can watch those programs, whether it's from the town of Greenfield or from GCTV. We committed to that early on, and we will definitely do that as soon as they have the ability to send us that signal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Anybody else?
I have, John, when do you think you will have reached the entire city? What year do you anticipate that you'll have gotten to?
Well, it really depends on capital, right? So we're always looking for grants, and I'm not going to forerun anything, but we're hopeful of getting some grants. And anything we do will accelerate the build out. So I know it sounds like a long stretch of time, but it really depends on how that all works out. So it could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years before we're finished. We'll get to the great majority. Starting in the core meant we could cover the most populous and thickly populated areas in the beginning. Getting to the last 5% from 95% to 100% is going to be by far the hardest, because now you're talking about people who are in quite rural settings out on the outskirts of Greenfield. So I think we will get to 95, 96% of the town within the next year or two. And then it'll really depend on grants as to how quickly we can get to the last little bits in the most rural areas.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, well, I'm not hearing any, John, so I guess you're off the hook also.
Okay.
Have a good night, and we greatly appreciate everything you do in GCET for us, and the money that we save and possibly can save when you get up here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, John.
Have a good night.
Okay, that's the end on my agenda that I see. Now we're moving to other business, which is none of it. And I have to announce next meeting Thursday, April 29th, 2021, 5:30. WebEx conferencing system, FY 2022 operating budget, public safety, police, dispatch, park and fire, infrastructure, DPW, central maintenance. Will be the April 29th meeting at 5:30 via WebEx here. So I will entertain a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
So moved. Second, Mayo.
Second from Mayo. Very good. Thank you, folks, for your time. Thanks all of you department heads if you're still on. Mayor Liz, thank you very much, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Thank you, Ed, very much for your job for chairing the meeting. I think we'll hire you. Thank you.